Welcome to The Family Business, a podcast about football and life from the perspective of a coach and his daughter. I'm Stephanie Turner, and I'm here with my dad, Norv Turner. Today's guest is a Super Bowl winning quarterback who built a long NFL career on leadership, toughness, and consistency. He played 15 seasons in the league and led multiple teams to the playoffs. He's the perfect guy to talk playoff football with us. Brad Johnson, welcome to the podcast.
All right. Thank you, Stephanie. Appreciate it.
Yeah.
It's been a long, long time. So it's almost 25 years since we were together back in Washington, and I had the great Norv Turner coach me for a couple of years there. So it's an honor to be on your show. So appreciate it. Thank you.
It's awesome to have you. You say 25 years, and I think about that first day you got in and we went out and worked on drops. And then the next day you told me your hamstrings were pretty sore, pretty tight. I never dropped back that fast. I said, well, we'll get that worked out.
It was the words I remember were two words, which was really one: quicker. That's what I remember.
Trent Green says he'd wake up in the night and hear me yelling, throw it. I watch these games over the weekend. Someone need to be yelling at these guys to throw it and get back there and hold that ball.
Yeah.
You get into playoff football, those pass rushers,
they're coming.
They're real.
Yeah.
They're coming. And that's what I remember really with you the most with my game. I'm sure we'll go talk about everything, but just like when the last foot hits, you got to let it go. And that's what you see in great quarterbacks, and the adjustment with a lot of the three quarterbacks that really come to mind me really was Matthew Stafford right now in the playoffs. And then I love watching Jared Goff when he hits his last step. And then the other one that's really changed, transformational really, is Caleb Williams, to be honest with you, with Ben Johnson. Like I see him, he still runs around, but there's times he's putting that last foot in the ground and it's coming out. So, but that was the biggest part of my game with you, was quicker and then hitting the last step and trusting the throw and just throw them open and not worry about being perfect. Just give them a chance and put in the right spot. And you always said, you don't have to hit the bullseye, just hit the bull. Hit that big old bull out there. Let them have it, So, but putting that last foot in the ground and letting it go was a big deal.
Talk about hitting the bullseye at some point. We don't have to talk about it right now, but your trick videos, your trick shots. I mean, I'm just watching them like, how is this real? How is he doing this? And then I was asking my dad, I was like, was he always just like super, super accurate? Because the ability, and we'll put some of the clips and videos in so people can see it and check out Brad's Instagram. But it's basketballs, 3 basketballs at a time, half court, full court, like all the different things.
Yeah. So during the pandemic, it was part of our greatest family time we ever had. A lot of families either hated it or we loved it because we were together as a family. We were working out together. We were just together. Mm-hmm. And so kids got on TikTok at that time, and I was, what is that? And all the dance videos and this. I'm like, I can't do any of that. But then I started thinking I can put some videos together. The two things I thought I was pretty good at was football and basketball. Basketball was my first love growing up. Loved Larry Bird. And then and Chris Mullen were my guys. And then football, I could start making some trick shot videos. Kind of like Dude Perfect is what I would kind of phrase it as. And so a lot of these shots a lot of my videos were multiple shots, 3, 4, maybe 5 shots in a row. And then like basketball might be off my finger and then over the backboard, 2 basketballs and bounce one in, and then take a football and throw the length of the court and go in. Well, the videos are kind of tricky. So it's not, I had 3 phrases, either the first time, first take, which didn't happen very often. And then it takes what it takes, because it takes, some of these videos now, they went from 1 hour to maybe 15 hours and then a lifetime of practice. And so it took all that stuff, but I almost found it like therapy because, for me, I was a one-man show doing this stuff with a bag of balls, a bunch of water, a camera, a tripod. And then when if you miss them, you got to go chase the balls,
Right.
So, but when you see these videos, like you'll see the celebrations and it is a true jubilation as you ever could get. And and you celebrate when you throw a touchdown like this, like touchdowns happen more often than these trick shots. Okay. So when it goes in, I'm out there celebrating by myself, and man, I've had fun doing it. Made over probably 250 videos, to be honest with you, and
Wow.
just kind of get after it. I went with the name Big Bad Brad, so I didn't want to put my name in there originally. And I said, I'm going incognitos, Big Bad Brad. and, so then, it kind of grew a life of its own. But I've had a lot of fun doing those things.
They're awesome. But we've seen you early at your most competitive, because when you and Rodney, Pete, and Casey Weldon came to dinner at the house and went downstairs and attacked the ping pong table. And next thing I know, guys have their shirts off, they're sweating, they're yelling at each other, banging that ball around. I'm going, I didn't know we're getting into this. It was a round robin competitive deal.
Yeah.
The only thing
So
that
this
settled everything down was Nancy made you a pie, and then everything was the rest of the world.
Yeah. So this is my most fun year I had, 1999 in football. So they're the
great.
quarterbacks. Is Casey Weldon, who we actually played together with at Florida State. And we were best buds at Florida State. He ended up being the runner-up to the Heisman. And I backed him up. And then Rodney Pete. And we couldn't tell if he's wearing rib pads or not. He was that's the joke we had, inside joke. But no, that night you're talking about, we came over to your house and really kind of getting to know each other, as much as anything. And Nancy spent all day at the grocery store cooking for us and felt like it was a Thanksgiving meal dinner and those kind of things. But I think when the ping pong stuff, the racquetball stuff kind of comes out, the competitor kind of comes out in all of us. And everybody, there's only so many alpha dogs in the room. Somebody has to win, So,
Right.
but that was a lot of fun that night. Had a great time. And that was the kind of beginning of the friendship of not just the quarterbacks, but really, making a connection with, at that time, head coach, play caller, quarterbacks, and the bond that you build. Like, those are memories that really last forever. But that's the important things of, especially at the pro level, like having the right room together is a big, big deal. Obviously, you got to have guys that are really good at their craft at quarterbacks, but just the bond that you have, the trust that you have, whether it's the friendships or one guy was a signal guy, one guy's telling you something, information on the sidelines, but just that things not only happen on the field, but the meeting room time that goes together, just the making each other comfortable in the room is a big, big deal. Kind of the success of that room, which is the success of the team. So that was probably the greatest quarterback room I was a part of, as far as just the total bond.
Well, it was something else, and I just go, because we're talking about Casey, I got to tell it. I came down to Florida State to work Casey, and the Amp Lay was the running back who was coming out, and the story goes, I didn't know anything about it, but Casey's going to work out, and he was a really good player, and as you said, all the accolades and everything, and he wouldn't let Brad come to his workout on the same field, because Brad was bigger, stronger, threw it better. So they made Brad go over to some field over on the other side. I don't know if I even got to see you work out, but and then your journey is the great story, because of going over and playing in the World League, playing in Europe, and doing all the things you did, getting to Minnesota, and when we traded for you, you passed the physical, but then you ended up having your knee scoped, right?
Yeah.
And I remember a couple of people that I'm not even going to name them, but they thought they knew more than they did, and they're telling me, well, we got scammed on this one. This guy's he's never going to play it. And it was like in June. I'm going, guys, settle down. I've seen enough of him. We'll get him here. And you didn't. We waited and went slow in camp. And I was so excited because we had a nucleus. There's some knuckleheads, but we had a nucleus of good players. And I knew we could be a really good offense. And we were the second best offense in the NFL that year to the Rams, who were the greatest show on turf, and we were behind them by a little bit in a lot of categories. And we struggled on defense early. We we won more games, 38-35 and that type of thing. And then as the defense caught up, we became a very, very good team, and should have finished and gone to the championship game if we could snap the ball back for a field goal. But it was a great time and a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Here's some. Oh, go ahead, Stephanie.
No,
Sorry.
I was just going to say that was that was the Redskins, and that's how we know you. And I think that was those were my dad's last couple years there, and they were so fun because of you and players like you that were so fun to watch and that were so great. And then they were frustrating too because there was a difficult owner in Dan Snyder, and there was, pushback and frustration and all of that.
Right.
But we definitely think of our time with you very fondly and remember some of those exciting games and moments. And yeah. But go ahead. You were going to say something.
Yeah. Just so real quick, there were some guys on the team. So these are the linemen we had. So we had a rookie, John Jansen. And then we had, he was left tackle. Then Trey Johnson, he was the left guard. Yep. And then we had Keith Sims, and then we had Andy Heck, who's now he's still coaching with Kansas City, and he's got a son I think plays for Tampa Bay.
Yeah,
and
it's unbelievable. Andy Heck, he got into coaching, and he ends up with Andy, and ends up in Kansas City, and all he does is win Super Bowls. I mean, he's got a good collection going.
It was awesome, and but when I came there. It was, I think the first thing I said to Norv, I said, man, I just looked at the media guy. We had 63 sacks last year. He says, well, that's why you're here. You're going to settle those things, And, but we had Stephen Davis, who I think he rushed for 1,800 yards. I mean, he was phenomenal. And they were, playmakers, and Michael Westbrook and Albert Connell and Irvin Fryer and James Thrash and Skip Hicks was another running back for us. But the two guys, Mike Sellers was a running back. He was a freaking beast.
Oh, God.
And he'd catch fire pass out there. And then Larry Centers was he was another fullback, was just tremendous career, tremendous competitor. But that time, it was, that year we ended up winning the NFC East division, and kind of a bunch of unknown guys that kind of formed together. They really believed in each other, played for each other. And it was the most fun time of my career. And I think I'd been 7 years in Minnesota with Denny Green and Brian Billick as my offense coordinator, but then Norv really got the most out of me at that point, just playing quicker, more decisive, taking play action shots, and just your vision of just calling plays for the right kind of combinations of guys that we had was just fun. That's what I remember, just fun. Mm-hmm. And so I'm thankful for that time.
Yeah. We can, we were talking a little bit about just that time and remembering, obviously you went on to then go win a Super Bowl in Tampa, and we left. And I don't know, Dad, you can maybe talk a little bit to the interaction there, which I know Brad, he's talked about with you, but just the struggle of fighting for you to continue to be the starter. And I just think it's interesting, in hindsight, looking at believing in somebody and knowing that they can do it and getting that opposition. And then to your credit, you went and continued to do it and be successful for many years.
Yeah.
Well, the history of it, we know. We had a young owner. He bought the team, and right. He thought he knew something about football, which continuously he proved that he didn't know much about football. And after we won the division and we won a playoff game, beat Detroit pretty good, and we're in position to beat Tampa, and it didn't happen. He got this idea that we had to add all these players. We added 5 or 6 guys, 7 or 8 guys, whatever the number was, who were at the end of their career, and they at one point were great players, but I'm not sure they were. They could make plays, but consistently go play, and he got enamored with Jeff George, and that was a fight, struggle, but you played until. I know you got injured in a stretch, and Jeff played 2 or 3 games, and And the one I remember the most is we were in Arizona and we were kicking a field goal to win the game. It was a low-scoring game. We had turned the ball over in the red zone, and we hit the upright. The field goal hit the upright and bounced out, and was kicking it with 3 seconds left. So we lost at Arizona, and they weren't a real good team. But the next day, and my son Drew, I don't know if he was there or if he just remembers me telling him the story. But the next day, I look out my office window, and here's the owner, and it was a 31-yard field goal. It was an easily made field goal. He's in his suit, which was too big. He probably had the cigar in his mouth. He had dressed black shoes on, and he is trying to make a 31-yard field goal because on the way back, he told someone he could have made that field goal. And they said, no, I don't think so. It was Vinny Serrato. So Vinny Serrato, who's the personnel guy, is holding the ball for him. And he's kicking, and it looks like something out of Peanuts. The ball's going about 10 yards, about halfway to the end zone. And I look at it there, and I go, "Oh my God, this is what I'm dealing with." You know, it was not good. But
and those are the stories we got to hear when he'd come home. You got to listen to what happened. You got to hear what was happening today, and we're like, "Oh my God."
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I think we went through 5 kickers that year, and it was a weird deal. And
he wasn't one of them.
No, he wasn't one of them. So he's probably smoking a cigar, watching practice on those nice cushioned chairs at the 50-yard line every day. But no, you know what I appreciate about it, like, you know, I ended up going 7-4 as a starter on the team that went 8-8, and what you said, Stephanie, like you in your career or your life or something, you want somebody to make you. You want somebody to believe in you, somebody to make you better, someone to give you a chance. Like that's the hardest part. Like to get a chance to have a chance, and then have connect people together. That's a big deal. And then, but that's where it was in my time, my career, and my life with Norv at that time. And I don't know, Dad's calling me. Let's see if I get up there. Can you got me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. And so, Norv brought me in there, and then, the first year they're trying to get rid of me from the ownership side. But then that second year we had it wasn't as smooth as we want, but at one point we're 6-2, 6-3, we're 7-5, 7-6. And then, Norv gets fired, but really is, truthfully probably fighting for me to be the starter, and that's the truth of it. Like you want somebody to believe in you, they'll go all the way to the very end with it because you believe in something. Like if we're going to have a chance, like this is what I need. And I feel like that's what Norv, probably sacrificed, a lot for me, just fighting for me. But that belief and someone giving me, believing in me was a big part of my career as it went on. But just knowing that somebody would fight for you that hard was a big, big deal. Mm-hmm. And then, we both move on in our careers, and we both, have success as we move on. But that was a big, big deal for me that you fought for me that way.
I talk a lot about this, and the biggest part of coaching it. I mean, you coach all things, and you get guys to improve in different areas, but you have to diagnose and be very honest with everybody. We're going to do what you do best. And sometimes it won't be your number that's called. It's going to be someone else. But the whole thing will fit together. And our whole system of offense, as you know, it starts with the quarterback. And the quarterback's the decision maker. And we tell the receivers, hey, you got to be in the right place at the right time. Don't fool the quarterback. Don't go off on your own, and build a trusting relationship with the quarterback, so he knows he can go back and just like you said, turn the ball loose, and let it go. And we had a young group of guys, and they learned how to play, and we were an explosive team, and that's a good feeling. And when you have trust for each other, it means something. And then we were in a situation where, we had a lot of turmoil coming from the ownership side, so it's hard to keep that trust, and we were able to do it.
Yeah, I think that is what's frustrating, seeing the firings, this, when that happens, is that so much of the time owners or GMs aren't letting coaches coach the players that they want to coach or put together the players. And like what you're saying, Brad, is that you had a coach that was fighting for you to be the starter because he believed that you were the best person to be the starter. And in that specific situation, you guys still had a chance to potentially win the division, to do all of these things. And there was still pushback and turmoil from ownership. And it's not the only time that that's happened. I mean, that
Right.
continues to happen. You look at the Raiders, we've talked about how they have a coach for 1 year, 2 years, and then it's a change, and you can't build team consistency. You take that Redskins team as an example back in 99, 2000. It wasn't big superstar names. It was, like you said, a lot of guys that weren't huge names, maybe young guys that were well coached, that believed in each other, that wanted to play for each other, that were playing hard and winning games and fighting for a chance. And yet there was still pushback and it's like, some of these teams are sabotaging themselves.
Yeah.
The way
Yeah.
I hear the story, and we got some other things to talk about. We'll move on to what's going on now. But, after I got fired and then the season ended and they're evaluating different things. And a couple of Snyder's advisors told them that with Brad, I just don't think you can ever win a Super Bowl. And I remember seeing Snyder later, and I said, yeah, Brad, I guess those guys were right. He couldn't win a Super Bowl here, but, he looked pretty good holding up that trophy in Tampa. That looked pretty darn good. It's just, you start listening to people that don't know and have opinions and have a couple of cocktails and have all the answers. It gets you in trouble, and that's no way to run an organization.
Mm-hmm.
It does. Unfortunately, I went on to Tampa and then went on to Minnesota. I got to come back to Washington. And I think the first time I came back from Tampa, played in Washington, had a threw 4 touchdowns. And the last one was it's kind of a sluggo seam concept. And threw it about the 40-yard line. And and my momentum was kind of running back. I was kind of running off the field. I took 2 feet and kind of jumped on the logo at midfield, just to give it a little sign, And I remember there was my last game in Washington. We played Arizona, and Larry Sanders needed 6 catches for, I think, 75 total. He needed like 200. He'd get like $250,000 bonus. It was a big deal. And so I remember in the walkthrough the day before, we were talking about running nickel 40, just a little handoff. And they got the 2-minute drill. I said, Larry, we're going to get those 6 catches, buddy. And so I got the snap. We ain't doing the draw. I'm going to give you a little shuffle pass. So I gave him like 3 little shuffle passes. And he gets to 6. I'm just waving up top because where the money has to be paid from. So pay the man from your pocket. But it was but I do think that's the problem with a lot of teams. Like when you have great success, it's usually people that have gone through the ups and downs, and you don't quite win it, but you keep your team, your nucleus of guys together, and they can build on the past and remember this play and this situation happened. They kind of grow together over time, and that's the success you see with people. But if you're interchanging your parts all the time, I think it catches up to you. You're looking for a lucky flip of the coin to make that happen. But I think that's the greatness. The great teams are stability teams, and that's what you had when you were, especially in Dallas. Yeah. And then actually, especially in San Diego, the same thing was like the stability. And you have winning success, like not just 1 year wonder. It's over time. Yeah. And that's the greatness of it.
Speaking of San Diego, what do you think of Philip making his return at 44 years old for 3 games?
Well, I was wondering if he had those Rodney Pete rib pads on, His cheeks were so tight in that face mask and everything. But I mean, I only met Philip one time, but I heard a bunch of stories about him. I've seen videos on him, just personality, his competitiveness. coaching high school ball again, like,
Yeah.
and then just to get that opportunity to come back, like whatever his age is, 40, what is it? How old is he now?
44, 45, 44.
Yeah,
44.
man.
Yeah.
Good gosh, it's unbelievable. But if anybody could get it done, like that's him. And he's probably he's not much slower than he was before, but like it was inspiring to all the old quarterbacks. And,
Right.
you hear, Rich Gannon, he's at 59. I think I can throw one. I feel good too. But I was pumped up for him.
Yeah. When I saw your videos and everyone will get to see him throwing that football, I thought, well, Brad could be making a comeback. He can still spin that ball. He can throw it. The thing about you and Philip had a lot of similar qualities because it's vision and why you could turn the ball loose. It's not throwing it to the receiver. It's throwing to where the receiver is going to end up. And a lot of what we did, that was the deal. You get back 7 hitch, throw it, and he's running a comeback, lay it out there and let him come out of the break. You're throwing a post, in route. And it's anticipating and that vision, and that's why Philip could go in and play because you don't have to overpower him all the time. It's nice to have an arm and be able to turn it loose, and if you have to really turn it loose and throw it hard, fit it in. But there's just a lot of throws that you don't want to throw as hard as you can. You want to have an arc on it and lay the ball in for the receiver and let him catch it on the run and go. And that's what you did so well. And Philip did it with guys he didn't even know. No. He comes in there and has 4 or 5 days with him. He threw a couple balls into the end zone where he just bent the receiver around a defender and bang, it's a touchdown.
Yeah.
It was fun to watch him. But your games were pretty darn similar.
Who's faster, me or Philip? Who's faster? The longest yards is what that is.
You were, but that doesn't mean you were fast.
Okay, I'll put that feather in my cap. But I thought it was amazing.
When Philip would get pushed out of the pocket, particularly if he started running left, Steffi would tell me in the stands.
We were going,
no,
no, please. This is not what we need.
Too well.
Yeah.
He, his mouth was probably a little cleaner than mine on the field. But what I loved about him,
it was a lot cleaner than mine. He would look at me and just shake his head.
Oh. Yeah, that was him. So, but I think what I think was inspiring about him coming back was like within, is he going to be? He took over a leadership role within like 3 days. He was the leader of the team. Like that's just naturally, like that's who the guy is. He made the whole building smile. He made the whole building competitive again. Like that situation, he's probably the only guy that could really make it happen like that. And plus, he knew the system and those kind of things. But his leadership skills was amazing. And so, for a guy like Riley Leonard, like to experience something like that, that's probably the best thing that will ever happen to that kid's career for moving forward. Like not how to throw a ball, not how to drop back, but how to lead a team and get others to play for you is a big deal for the quarterback position. So it's pretty awesome.
The biggest, in my opinion, the biggest problem right now with the quarterback position, you have all these guys that get these guys for the draft, and they get them they take them to the combine. They teach them how to throw the ball for the combine. They teach all the physical traits, but nobody's teaching these guys how to play quarterback. And then they get into a team, and they're the second guy, third guy, if they're not a high drafted guy. And, that everything you're talking about, the leadership, the getting under center, understanding the protections, it's just a hard process for them. And it takes a while. And all of a sudden you see Philip, who grew up that way. That's the way he learned how to play. And it's just second nature. He's pointing out the mic. He's directing the center for protection. He's telling the tight end the nickel's coming off the slot. He's in control of the game, which is why I say you guys are similar because that's the way you played. But I just don't know that guys, young guys particularly, are as aware of all the different situations that come up and how important, not taking a sack here is, how important, getting the ball, completed in this situation is, rather than a lot of guys are just running plays. They're not playing the game.
Yeah.
And you got to move on from from just running plays to playing the game. And you get to put together, you get 3 downs and you get to put together a 15 play drive. Every play doesn't have to be perfect. Every play doesn't have to be a completion. There's a process that goes on. And I think that's where the young quarterbacks need more help. They need more help doing that than throwing a go route or, all the different things we're talking about.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, talking about that and just the games that we just watched, this first round of playoff games, and some of the quarterback play there was just, I mean, that Bears game and Caleb Williams and coming back the way that they did and just watching him play, he's so fun to watch. And it was just so impressive the way that they overcame so many setbacks. I mean, not converting a 4th and 1, and then the next drive or a couple drives, like that 4th and 8 throw he made. And it was just such a fun game to watch and so impressive to see him stay cool under pressure and just continue to get it done. And that there were some times talking about get quicker. Like there were times that I was screaming that because he was running around back there and you're just like, get rid of the ball. But then there were other times where, like you said, Brad, he just real quick release and found the guy. And I don't know. What were some standout things for you these games?
Yeah, I think for instance, for Caleb Williams, I think last year was a disaster for that kid. Mm-hmm. I mean, just like whether it's the parts around him, how you developing the kid. And the greatest thing that happened to him was, obviously, everyone has talent and those kind of things, and some can throw better than others a little bit, and those kind of things. But like him having a play caller and coach and Ben Johnson who believes in him, quickened up his feet, taught him how to read different coverages, how to manage. I think the greatest compliment to a quarterback is being a game manager. Like, you cannot tell me Greg Maddox, he cannot throw it over 90 miles an hour. But he can hit the corners, man. He can set the count up. Mm-hmm. Like, you got to be ahead in the count, and then you can get the hitter. Same way with the quarterback. You better be great on first down. First down is the most important down because it dictates the rest of it all. And then just understanding, 2-minute drives, 4-minute drives. And that kid yesterday, Chicago Bears, they're down 21-3. He'd thrown 2 picks. Like, I mean, your season's getting ready to end, bud.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And you could panic. Like, usually the first round of playoff games, there's one team that always panics and they lose, they throw 3 or 4 picks and game's over. But they came back and that team believes in him. And so it's fun to see him not panic and just find a way to win. Some of the throws he made were amazing. Sometimes those are, great plays. Sometimes those turn into, critical interceptions too. But it was just fun to watch a kid like that do it. And then you see the evolution of Trevor Lawrence. Honestly, like he's been kind of up and down a little bit. And then he got in his world, and he's thrown over 30 some odd touchdowns and really has a chance to win the game yesterday against the great, Josh Allen, Buffalo Bills. But his maturation, he's ready to take off now because he has a great play caller and great head coach.
Well, then you see Matthew Stafford, who has played. I mean, he get beat up every weekend in Detroit, but he threw for 1,000,000 yards. And then, he gets in a outstanding system, outstanding coaches, good players around him. And the one thing, very similar to what we were talking about, Phillip, he knows how to play quarterback. Yeah. And every ball doesn't have to go to a certain guy. Every ball doesn't have to be a 20-yard gain. He's just quick with the ball, getting it down to the backs, throwing to the tight end, hitting that 5th step, hitting that 3rd step, and getting the ball thrown, and understanding how to, as I said, how to put a drive together. And then, he makes a spectacular throw, probably a throw that he's one of the few guys that could make to win the game. But all the other things put you in position to make that throw. If you're not checking it down and getting the ball out and avoiding the sack and avoiding the negative plays, you never get the opportunity to make that play. So it's if I was a young coach, a young quarterback, I would be watching Matthew Stafford and that type of guy. That my feeling, and we've talked about this with other guys, college quarterbacks are given so much freedom, and the games are so different. They're spread out. The defensive players aren't nearly what they are in the NFL. It's not flag football, but it's that field is wide open, and they don't have a lot of restrictions, and it's the biggest transition they have to make. And Caleb couldn't make that transition in year one, and I don't know he had anyone grabbing him by the back of the neck and saying, "Hey, listen, get back and get the ball thrown. Let's have some structure." And I know Ben Johnson, he comes from the Mike Martz, those guys, where it's very similar to our offense. And I read stories during training camp by him speeding Caleb up, speeding him up, and then jumping his ass when he wasn't doing the things he wanted, and grinding on him like you do when you coach a guy. And you can see the effect it had on him from the beginning of the year all the way through. And to me, it's the same thing. You do the little things, you do the details, and then he showed in college he could make incredible plays like the 4th and 8th play. But if you're not doing all the other things, you don't get the chance to make that play. And, and same thing, Cohen and Tampa and grinding on these guys, and they're responsible to do the right things, just like every other position. And when some of the younger guys go in and think, "Well, this is my team, I just gonna go." No, that's not the way it works. You got to grind on them. I mean, we've been there. You got to tell them, here's how we're doing it. Here's what they're reading, and if you want, well, the guy over there, well, we have a play to get to that. But that wasn't the play call,
Mm-hmm.
I think what gets lost too is like, the off-season programs, just having the quarterback schools, not just going out with some guys. We're going to go some field and we're going to throw balls. Like really having quarterback schools, evaluating your sacks, your interceptions, your turnovers, fumbles, and then red zone offense, 2-minute offense, third down offense. Like those are big deals. The off-season quarterback schools. And then to me, I think training camp, like we were kind of old school where we had the 2-a-days. Like it was tough. It wasn't just, one practice, maybe a walkthrough, those kind of things. And so I think the schooling was a little bit different with us. So I think that's why it's really important now with these organizations. Like you better get a great play caller, a great head coach that can get in the quarterback's world with the short term of lack of practices and the OTA days or quarterback schools, because the most important guy on the field is the guy with the ball, the quarterback. Like it all goes around him. So I think really teaching that quarterback how to play, and we're playing these young quarterbacks at an early age. When I look back at a lot of the legends or guys that won Super Bowls, I'm like, they probably sat maybe the first 6 weeks of the season or sat a year. And Phillip Rivers, he might have sat 2 years for you.
Sat 2 or 3 years. You look at Aaron Rodgers. I know Kenny Stabler with the Raiders. He was like 3rd or 4th year before he really started playing, and that there was something to that that understanding what the position really is.
Yeah.
So we have more playoff talk. We have the Rams will be at Chicago. 49ers obviously won. They'll be at Seattle, and Bills will be at Denver. The 49er game, I know there are a lot of upset Eagle fans. I know I got some Eagle fans in my life that were like, "Oh yeah, we're just gonna, get rid of the 49ers and keep moving." And nope, not happening.
I can't stand
when someone
Philly.
says 49ers, I'm all over it. And I think about
Yeah.
Christian McCaffrey. We coached him 2 years in Carolina, and
Yep.
you better come ready if you're going to win in that one, because he's going to, like he did yesterday, he's going to do everything in his power. And people are saying, well, the tight end got hurt. Were you worried about him? I said, no, Christian didn't get hurt. They'll be fine. You can put someone else at tight end. They have a way of getting the ball to the tight end who's ever in there. But he had a heck of a performance, and maybe the numbers don't. They're not crazy numbers, but man, when you need a play, he's going to make it, and he gave him a chance to win.
He did. He's a problem. I mean, he's been a problem for his whole career for everybody he plays against. I think he has over 400 touches this year, which is unheard of. He keeps himself in great shape under those circumstances. But whether it's in the passing game, running game, he is a Swiss Army knife. He is that guy, and that team plays with great energy. And I think Kyle Shanahan's one of his greatness is he does run the ball. Like play action game is huge in that offense, and the multiple of shifts and personnel groupings and all those kind of things. But that little catch he had yesterday for the touchdown, I really haven't seen it that way. It was kind of a 2-by-2 set. They had a pivot route and a corner route. Then the slot ran the over, and then the X who runs a dig. But then Christian McCaffrey, he runs an angle route from the strong side all the way through, and then come to. I haven't really seen it like that. Mm-hmm. It was just interesting play, and I think it's a great design of Kyle Shanahan, and then the greatness of a player that can do it, Christian McCaffrey can do it.
That play took some time and be able to protect it, and Purdy did a great job of stepping up inside to buy the time to get it to him. But the play, and we used to run it with Larry Sinners, the halfback would run a sneak, and you could rub for him, and it's a man beater, and you take off. And I know what they did. I'm sure they looked at it, and this is how new ideas come about. They probably ran it against zone, and Christian, the guy sitting out there waiting for him. And I'm sure they said, why don't we start across like we're going and then run that little angle route? And when he did that, the defender had no chance. But it's a great idea, and it stems from doing something really well, and people are going to take it away, so it gives you a chance to do something
to adjust
else,
it and
adjust to it. So it was a hell of a route. And when we had him at Carolina, I told guys, if you made him a slot receiver 100% of the time, he'd be like Wes Welker. He'd catch 120 balls. He'd score 10 touchdowns. And you couldn't do that because he's a great runner. But we were with him. He had 1,000 catches. And he had 100 catches, 1,000 yards receiving, and he had 1,000 yards rushing. And he's only one of 3 guys to do that. And he didn't play. He only played about 10 plays in the last game. Once he got to 1,000 yards, he didn't even play. He could have been more. And he's the hardest worker. I used to, because I have a great history with running backs all the way back to USC, and we had a lot of guys that led the league in rushing. I think I had 7 different times the leading rusher in the NFL. And Christian, you'd get 25 carries and 8 catches. So I said, Christian, I don't want you to practice on Wednesday. Because I can practice. It's not being soft. It's not. You got, like you said, you had 400 touches this year.
Yep.
Let's take a break. So one day we're out there on Wednesday, and he's dressed in his pads or whatever, and we had a young running back coach, and the two of them, I look down there at the end of the field, and he's got Christian hitting the sled, pass protection sled.
Right.
And my manager was right next to me, and I said, "Hey, Joe, go get those 2 knuckleheads," And he goes, and they come both running up, all eager, and I go, "What in the hell are you 2 guys doing? Do you think he needs to be hitting the sled? He got tackled 24 times last week, and whatever, and he was in protection about 10 times. He did a pretty good job in protection.
Oh, yeah.
And I used your one. Go find some shade. Go find some shade. What? Jeez. The one I love now is during special teams. Every team now has about 3 quarterback coaches. They got a quarterback coach, and they're overdoing drops during special teams. And I used to. I think of Troy. If I had Troy doing drops during special teams, he might have hit me. So we'd get the script out and do a fake meeting there, like we were talking football. And I'd do the same thing with you during special teams. You and I'd be going over like we're going over the script or something. But some of these young guys, the poor guy, the quarterback's legs are dead by Friday. 1,000 drops during the week.
Yeah. The joke is, I was just like we're practicing out there in the hot heat. And the reps in the practice are what's going to matter. We've already kind of done all the drops, and I'd always say, I need a breathe. I need a little shade tree out here just to take. Let's just watch everybody else for a little bit and kind of pace it out. But but that's a big deal. Like, having a coach like trust you and like, having a vision, like he doesn't need all the carries in practice. Those carries are really going to matter in the game instead of like, when is the game? It's on Sunday. It's not on Wednesday. No. Obviously, the work has to be done throughout the course of the year, but like just someone having vision, not killing your team or doing the right thing for the players and those kind of things.
So who are we thinking is the most complete team here? Because I think talking 49ers, I mean, their defense was looking pretty good.
They played twice this year. Obviously in the same division. Those 3 teams are unbelievable in that division, NFC West. And I think you almost have to marvel at Sam Darnold's career, what he's come through, and then 2 years ago backing up Brock Purdy. But Seattle's, he's won 28 games or something in the last 2 years. But Seattle's defense is phenomenal. Yeah, and to host at home, a number 1 seed. Playing against, they split during the course of the year. They both, with San Fran and Seattle, they split. Mm-hmm. They played early in the years. I think San Fran got them and Seattle got them at the very end. But it's, I can't wait. I'm excited for that game.
Yeah.
It's going to be one of the best games. And it's going to be, it's the players ultimately decide the game. We know that. But the coaching matchup is a great matchup. You got a really good defense. You got an offensive coach who's brilliant. The 49ers are beat up on defense. But Seattle tends to be pretty conservative, and they're not going to put their defense in harm's way. And to me, it puts the pressure on Darnold because if you do have a major area of interception, you may have a fumble, and you're not, pumping the ball in the field.
Big shots.
Yeah. Then those weigh heavier on you than, if you're wide open and you're going. So there's a lot of pressure on Sam. I watched him all through his college career, and I've always been a fan, and I think getting with better teams has helped him not try to make so many spectacular plays, because that's where he's in trouble when he goes, when he goes off on his own and wants to throw one of those across the field or one of those type of plays. And he should be in a position where he doesn't have to do that. But it'll be a good game, and they know each other, so those games tend to go down in
low-scoring games. Mm-hmm. Yep. I think both their games this past year, there was like 17-13 and 13-3. So low-scoring games, and like it's going to be a critical place, and the turnover will kill you in the playoff game, the momentum of it. So
we've all been to Seattle. It's not an easy place.
Yeah, it's not a
playoff game with the noise and everything involved. And I haven't seen a weather report, but I know one thing: you got to be ready to play in the rain when you go up there too.
And Norv, I could not throw a wet ball. I don't think Troy could throw a wet ball either. Could he? Could Troy throw it?
One of the funniest deals ever is we're playing Philadelphia in a night game. I think it might have been a Monday night game, and it was raining hard. And I'd never been with him when it was really raining hard. And he went back to throw. He's throwing a ball to Michael Irvin, a skinny post. And he threw it, and he gripped the ball really hard anyway, and it just squirted up, and it went about 10 yards, and it was, I go, what the hell are you doing? I go, quit screwing around. You know, he goes, I ain't screwing around. He goes, I never told you. I can't throw a wet ball. He threw for 90 yards in that game, and and Emmett ran for about 200. I mean, we threw a ball, a dig route to Michael Irvin, and he threw it, and you normally catch it 18 to 22 yards deep, you know, and the ball squirted out, and it went about 10 yards, and Mike ran back into the ball, jumped up and caught it, and I'm going, we have no passes, you know, it was throw a short with Emmett, but he the way he grips the ball and he swings it so hard, it just squirts out.
Squirts out, I never played in my whole career. I never played in a rain game. I looked at the weather report every week. And I don't know how I did it for my whole career. Never played in a rain game. So I was like, did a bunch of dances getting ready for that one. But some guys have the ability to do that. You know, like, I mean, you know, that game could be a wet game. And then the game with, Chicago and the Rams, that's a cold game. Mm-hmm. You know, like it's a big deal. Like, can guys throw in the cold and can guys catch, you know, the players around you? So I think the weather, I do think it comes a big part of, especially for, you know, a team like, you know, the teams from the South going to the North. I do think it's a big part of it.
Right. Yeah. And then we have the Bills at Denver. What do you think about the Broncos? I mean, are you hyped on them like so many people are? You think they're going to go all the way?
Well, I love the Bills, okay? I love the Bills. I love Josh Allen. Mm-hmm. I love just like, golly, he's like the Terminator, okay? Yeah. I mean, that yesterday, he had the quarterback sneak, 4th and inches, and the whole team carries him 10 yards. I've never seen a 10-yard pick up the quarterback and get him all the way to the end zone. But I don't know where their defense is at, to be honest with you, if they can stop the running game and those kind of things. And Denver has a tremendous defense. And so I really think that game, to me, it kind of comes down to Bo Nix. Does he turn it over or does he make the clutch play? And obviously the game's in Denver. So it's going to be a great game. And they've won all those close games. There's a reason why they're the number 1 seed. Yeah. But I think it comes down to Bo. How well does he handle it? Critical. Is there a critical turnover in that game? Otherwise, it's
what's interesting to me is they've played it pretty straight, pretty tight to the vest, and that's why Sean's doing a great job with that, getting the most out of the offensive guys, letting their defense play. But what they have done when they've been behind, he's had some really big plays in the fourth quarter, and Bo he's been the difference in 4 or 5 games. So they have that ability. I think Buffalo will find a way to move the ball and make plays against their defense, and I think there'll be scoring going on. Everyone assumes it's going to be 13-7 or something. I think it's going to be 27-24, something like that, and they'll have a chance to make some plays.
Mm-hmm. All right. Well, we're going to wrap up here, and we'll let you.
I just have one more game to talk about because it was so important to me. I don't even know if Brad knows it, but when Snyder bought the team, he told me, you make the playoffs, you're here. If not, we're going to make a switch. And I had 2 years left of my contract or something. So we go to San Francisco. I think it was a Monday night game. It might have been, I don't know what it was.
Monday night game.
And we had to beat them to win the division. And that thing went back and forth. And it wasn't a high scoring game, but there was a lot of, they couldn't stop us. We can stop them. So Brad ends up throwing, I think it was a Redskin record at the time, and I don't know that they've broken it, but and maybe the Commanders have, but the Redskins haven't, and you throw for about 470 yards. Yeah. We had a 4th and 10, and you hit Irving Fryer on a dig route about 20 yards deep, and he laid out for it. You threw it perfect. We ran stutter pass on 4th and 10. Rich Olson goes, it's 4th down. I said, I know what fucking down it is, Rich. I was trying to get our protection squared away. And in overtime, hit Larry Centers in the flat for about a 40-yard touchdown. What a finish. And I had some great wins in Candlestick, but that's right up there with them. I mean, that was unbelievable, and everyone contributed offensively. Westbrook and Connell and those guys, they made plays, and obviously Larry but you played as good as you can play the position that day, and it's to think of throwing for 470 yards. It's pretty incredible.
Yeah, that game won us the NFC East, and we hit Larry Centers on a little fire pass, a little quick fullback flat out in the to the right, and I think I might have called the play wrong or something. And the guys are running one way.
We don't have to tell
so
that
called him a man, that kind of thing. But it was a celebration like no other. Like that was, we were hugging at the end of the game, and it was just a special time for all of us. And to really bring the NFC division champs back to Washington. It hadn't been done in a while, and then wasn't done for a long time.
Yeah.
After that fact, to be honest with you, to win a playoff game. So that was just a special group of guys who came together. And my wife always gives me a hard time because after the game I did an interview, and that was her birthday on December 26th. And I didn't say happy birthday to
my gosh.
on the TV.
How
I'm
could
like,
you?
holy cow. She still rides me to this day. So Nikki gives me living hell for it still. So I'm like, what can I say? But no, that was a fun night for us all,
Yeah. I think we have a video clip of that one. Well, you sent me, Brad.
Yeah. Okay.
That celebration,
awesome.
right?
Yep.
All right. Well, before we let you go, we ask everybody at the end of the show, if you didn't work in football, what would you do? What would you have done as a career?
Yeah, I was going to be a school teacher. I was going to be the most impactful people in my life were my dad and then my coaches that I had. And I got my degree in education. I was going to go back and be a school teacher and high school coach. And that's kind of what my plans were at that time. And then got drafted and had a chance to have a long career. But I was going to be a school teacher and a coach.
All right. Well, thank you so much for joining us. We really appreciate it. It was good to see you and all your memorabilia there in the back. Love seeing that.
Yeah. No, I appreciate it. So a lot of memories there. And then I don't know if we talked too much about Nancy's apple pie, but that was the best thing we ever had. We always, Nancy, Nora's wife, and your mom would always make us apple pie on Saturday mornings before we have our meetings. And then I think we put a little ice cream on top of it. And so that was just a great bond that we all had together. And I think every quarterback that ever played for Nora, they always talk about Nancy's apple pie.
It's gone bigger than that now. We got guys. I mean, we had everyone who experienced it. They want the recipe. They want to know. We had Cam Newton on. He said, "Oh, come on! If you give me the recipe for that apple pie." Now, there's nothing like a big piece of apple pie, a lot of vanilla ice cream, and a big old Mountain Dew sitting there right next to it, right? Huh? You can't beat that. And that's when I knew we had a little issue with Jeff George when he wouldn't eat the apple pie because he was a health guy. You're
like, this isn't going to work. This is not going to work.
No. Work with this group.
Got to have a little cushion there.
But you're the originator. She made. We hit a little lull. We were really rolling. I forget who we lost to, but she says, "I'm making Brad an apple pie," because you'd had it at our house.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
So I come in with an apple pie and go, "What's this?" And then we got on another winning streak.
Yeah. So Nancy, she's the hardest working person. Yeah. Nancy's the hardest working person in the business, in the building, getting the apple pie ready for us. It was fun.
Exactly. All right. Well, thank you so much for tuning in. Remember to subscribe on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts, and follow us on Instagram where we post fun clips and giveaways. We'll see you on the next one.